So the party just keeps on going, right? We are still in eclipse season. So we're sort of still fresh off the heels of that full moon lunar eclipse in Libra that happened 2 weeks ago. And now we've got the upcoming solar eclipse in Aries. So let me paint a picture for you to give you an idea of what this eclipse is gonna look like and feel like. So I want you to take a deep breath. Good. And I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to envision your dream car. Don't think about how much it costs, none of that. What is it? All right, cool. Now, I want you to envision the universe saying to you, meet me at the dealership. And when you do, the universe is like, here, boom. Here are the keys to your brand spanking new car. Clearly, it smells new, it looks new, no mileage, it is brand spanking new. And the universe is like, listen, it's time to go on a trip. So now that you got this new car, let's go to someplace you've never been before. We're gonna take a really dope ass road trip. Yeah, but first, let me look at your luggage real quick. Let me see what you're bringing on this trip. And the universe starts to open your bags. And first of all, your luggage is like from 10 years old. You travel all over the world with it and it's dusty. It's dusty, the zipper is broken. The universe is like, what is this? And the universe starts opening it up, sort of like TSA, and is going through your luggage and is like, is that fear? Ugh. Is that insecurity? Oh my gosh, is that like a lack of self-esteem? Oh no, baby, you can't bring these on the trip with you. You gotta drop those. First of all, we're just gonna overhaul all of this luggage, right? Anything that's old, decrepit, dusty, we're getting rid of it. We're starting with something new, okay? And don't worry, all of that stuff that you've been carrying with you, you don't need it on this trip. We're gonna build new experiences. We're gonna experience something new. The phrase that pays with this particular eclipse is new. I guess it's not a phrase, it's a word. Newness. Everything new is what this eclipse is about. However, you're gonna be posed with several questions. First of all, the question is, who are you? And number two, who hurt you? Because a lot of this baggage, a lot of this luggage that you're trying to take on this trip, honey, it's from like childhood. So we need to address that. We need to let it go before we embark on this journey. And that's exactly what this eclipse is about. It's about embarking on a new journey and getting rid of the shit that you don't need, especially as it pertains to your sense of self, your autonomy, and your identity. All right, so buckle up, baby. It's about to be a bumpy ride. All right, so in this video, I will be discussing everything you need to know about the upcoming solar eclipse in Aries and how to make the most of it. So stick around, you definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If this is our first time meeting, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and I'm the founder of divinefeminineworks, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So as that dramatic intro suggests, this video is all about the upcoming new moon solar eclipse going down in the sign of Aries on Monday, April 8th, 2024 at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so eclipses are a big deal, right? Especially a new moon solar eclipse. It happens at the new moon, so it's like a new moon on steroids. Hence why the word of this new moon solar eclipse is new and newness, right? So you may have noticed that if you were to research this solar eclipse, there's actually a lot of information about it, right? A lot of news segments, a lot of articles about the great American solar eclipse. It just so happens that the path of this eclipse is going straight through the United States, and the spiritual significance of that is definitely not lost on me. And I'll talk about that a little later. But this is a big deal here in North America. For those that are directly in the path, you're going to be able to see this cataclysmic astronomical event where the moon moves right between the sun and the earth. And in the middle of the day, we will be blanketed with darkness. All right. There's also a very important spiritual significance to that, But again, I will explain that later. But you will also hear a lot of fear mongering. You're going to hear a lot of people saying that cell phone usage is going to go down, that there's going to be a whole bunch of calamity and catastrophe, and you need to stock up on food and all of this other stuff, right? And eclipses are erratic energy. So there are going to be some things that pop off, right? But it's nothing to fear, okay? Creation is bred from chaos. And that's kind of the energy signature of this new moon solar eclipse in Aries, all right? And it's interesting because I feel like there's this dichotomy. On the one hand, there's all this fear mongering, and a lot of it has to do with sort of the astronomy and the science of this particular eclipse. But then if you look at a lot of the astrology videos on this eclipse, it's kind of like, all right, it's another day. It's another event, right? It's nothing we haven't been through before. So the same sort of energy signature is happening now that happened back in the summer of 2017 when we had a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Leo, I believe. So another fire sign, right? And fire is oftentimes represents destruction. It represents, chaos. It represents heat and intensity. And yes, that is all a part of this particular new moon solar eclipse, right? Especially in the sign of Aries. However, fire purifies, right? One of the things that came to mind when I was thinking about this eclipse is depending on certain crops, right? After a harvest, farmers will set fire to it to cleanse the earth. And that's kind of what is happening. For a lot of us, this eclipse is going to be putting our feet to the fire. It's going to require us to be brave, to be courageous, and to step into who we really are, okay? And to do that, we're going to have to go back in time a little bit, all right? So without further ado, let's get into the details of this eclipse and see what is really good. All right, so as always, we start off with the basics. So it's a new moon solar eclipse. So obviously it's going down to the new moon phase of the lunar cycle. And that is when the sun and the moon are conjunct, where they share the same space in the sky. I like new moons because it's not just about setting new intentions and planting new seeds, but it's also this energy of self-awareness. The sun represents our ego. It represents our personality, our outward expression, whereas the moon represents our emotions, our subconscious, and our inner world. When the two of those are together, it's like wholeness. It's like totality, right? So we are at the beginning stage of the lunar cycle where the slate is being wiped clean. We get a do-over, we get to start over, and we have this awareness of self that allows us to move forward successfully. It's like being able to see the whole picture, being able to understand everything. And it is from that space that we're able to create and that we're able to manifest, right? So that is what new moons are all about. Now, intensify that by a million because eclipses are new moons on steroids. Well, a new moon solar eclipse is a new moon on steroids. So this is like a new beginning. Like this is like it, like I said in the intro, you have a brand new car, you're going to a brand new destination, right? It's new everything. And, I'll get more into this in the astrology section, but we are at a point where everything is changing. Everything is different. And that's why you're going someplace you've never been before. You're perhaps manifesting things you've always wanted, but that you've never had. Or maybe you have these ideas for something new that you never even thought of before. And you're able to go in that direction, but the direction is going to be a lot different than what you're used to or what you've experienced in the past. All right. So keep that in mind. Now, the next thing I'll say about a solar eclipse is that the sun is high in the sky. The moon comes right in between the earth and the sun, blocking out the light of the sun, right? It is darkness. And in ancient times, people seriously feared eclipses for that reason. It's bright in the sky, and then it's like you have night all of a sudden, right? Like that can be a little jarring, a little unsettling, right? But think about when seeds are planted. They are planted in the dark. Do not be afraid of the dark. The dark is where creation happens. Think about babies that are gestating in the womb. I assume it's dark in there. I can't remember, but I assume it is, right? You are gestating. You're being planted. This is this new beginning. Okay? So don't be afraid of the darkness. And this is going to be very important because you're going to have to examine the darkness. You're going to have to go back in time and kind of go through that luggage that you haven't unpacked in a minute, and embrace the darkness. It's in embracing that darkness that you're able to move forward successfully toward a new destination. All right. So definitely keep that in mind. So now that we've talked about the basics, let's get into the numerology and talk about that. All right, my loves. So if you've watched any of my other moon series videos, you know that I love to infuse numerology into these analyses because numerology can give you a lot more information. It adds a little more color to whatever we're talking about, right? So we look at the degree at which this eclipse is happening, and it's at 19 degrees of Aries. So in numerology, we always reduce double or even triple digits down to a single digit. So 1 + 9 is 10. We further reduce that down to 1. So the numerology of this particular eclipse is the number 1. How fitting. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, number 1. And this eclipse is happening at the 19th degree of Aries, which reduces down to 1. So when I said the word of this eclipse is newness, I wasn't lying. It's all about new beginnings. Now, number 1 is the initiator. It's the starter. It's the firecracker energy. So this is like, boom, like out the gate, just hitting the ground running, right? Now, there are some caveats to that based on the astrology. However, the overall theme of this eclipse is get up and go, take action, move towards something new in a different kind of way. Because the number 1 is not only the pioneer, it's the initiator, a little bit of an innovator, right? Because perhaps you're doing something that's never been done before. Now, one of the themes of the number 1 in numerology is that it pushes us to look at our current circumstances and realize that we have the power to turn them into anything that we wish. So maybe you're not starting something new, but you're taking where you're currently at and you're morphing it into something new. This is what the eclipse is going to put your feet to the fire to get you to do, to be brave enough to do this, right? One of the examples I always use, the analogies I always use a lot is weight loss, right? It is no small feat to go from being overweight or maybe even being morbidly obese to turn your life around, right? And to lose weight, especially dramatically. That is sort of the essence of that Aries and number 1 in numerology energy. You're taking your current circumstances, which may be being overweight, being morbidly obese, being unhealthy, and you are turning it into something that you desire, which is to be healthy, which is to be smaller, which is to be thinner, right? I mean, if you're in that body positivity movement, don't come for me with that, all right? However, you get what I'm trying to say. It's about taking your current circumstances and turning them into something that you wish. So the number 1 also has a lot to do with confidence, right? And with the self, which is very much a part of the Aries energy signature. We are learning what we want. And we are learning about our inner fire, our inner confidence, our sense of identity. These are the themes that are going to come up with this solar eclipse. Because remember I said, when the universe gives you the keys to that brand spanking new car, right? And you're off to this new destination. And when the universe is looking through your luggage, it's like, wait a minute, who hurt you? Who are you? Right? These are the questions that this solar eclipse is going to ask of you. All right. Now, in terms of the tarot card associated with the numerology, with the number 1, it is the magician. The magician has all the tools at his or her disposal to make something new, to manifest something. So you've got everything that you need. So what is it that you want? What are you trying to create? What newness are you trying to usher into your life at this time? It's like the universe is giving you a silver platter and telling you, here, you could have anything you want. No, you're going to have to do some work. However, my offer still stands. Whatever you want, you can now go after it. The time is now, all right? Action is also a very big part of the number 1. It's not just about thinking about something new. It's about taking action. Now, that action is going to be tempered a little bit because of the current astrology, and I'll get to that in a second. However, it's time for you to be fiery. It's time for you to be a bit risky. This is not the time to be risk averse. This is not the time to be shy. This is not the time to psych yourself out and say, oh, I want this, but I don't know if I can get it. The energy of this eclipse, the way that spirit conveyed this to me was so blunt and so to the point, no beating around the bush. The universe is like, you want it, you got it, cool. But stop with all of this, I don't know, maybe not. It's almost like the universe is slapping you in the face a bit, but lovingly, and getting you to be like, listen, focus. What is it that you want? I don't care what you thought in the past. I don't care what other people say. What is it that you want? Now let's go. Right? So again, the numerology, number one, new beginnings. And that couldn't be any more appropriate for the energy of this solar eclipse in Aries. All right. So now let's get into the details with the astrology. All right. So it was interesting because in analyzing the astrology for this eclipse, I realized that the energy is so much more different than the energy of the eclipse, of the last eclipse, which was the lunar eclipse in Libra. There was so much astrological information with that last eclipse, which is very emblematic of like a full moon lunar eclipse, even Libra energy. It's a little more involved, right? Aries is straight to the point. The astrology for this is like so simple. It's the sun and the moon are conjunct. Mercury is conjunct. The North Node is conjunct. And we've got the asteroid Chiron that is conjunct. Everything is concentrated in Aries. And that makes sense because Aries energy signature is all about focused energy. So we are at a point in time right now where the energy of the universe is super duper concentrated in the sign of Aries. Aries, again, it's all about starting something new in a bold and dynamic sort of way. And this eclipse is like, listen, what do you want? Let's go. Now, I've alluded before that there's going to be some work to do. And the work required at this eclipse may be a little uncomfortable for some people, especially if you are not one who has engaged in shadow work or one who has basically examined their own demons. Okay. So like I said, this new moon, sun and moon conjunct in Aries, is also going to be conjunct the asteroid Chiron. I did an entire video explaining Chiron, so if you want to know more about that, check this out here. Link will be in the description box below. So Chiron is an asteroid. It's not a planet. It's not a point in the sky. It's an asteroid, and it's known as the wounded healer. Chiron represents our insecurities. It represents our trauma. It represents the things that hold us back. And once we master Chiron, it unlocks a potential within us that can take us very far. If you look at the symbol for Chiron, it actually looks like a key. Understanding Chiron in your natal chart, understanding how Chiron works is kind of like the cheat code, and it's the key to unlock doors that may have been previously locked to you, okay? If you want to know more about Chiron in your natal chart, I have an upcoming webinar on how to read your natal chart. If you're interested, it's going down on April 10th. I'll be discussing everything from soup to nuts about your natal chart and how to read it. If you're interested, it'll be tagged in this video, and the link will be in the description box below. Shameless plug, I know. However, back to the matter at hand. Like I said, Chiron represents your insecurities. And Mercury is also in the mix here because Mercury is also conjunct all of these things, right? Like I said before. But Mercury is currently retrograde. So what do we do during retrograde? We go back in time. We examine things from the past. We reminisce. We remember. We review. We revisit. So the work that needs to be done with this solar eclipse is revisiting the past, especially as it relates to your traumas, your fears, and your insecurities. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the warrior. The warrior is strong, is brave, is courageous. Your insecurities may be standing in the way of the courage that you need to start something new. And so this particular eclipse, it's not even just going to ask you who hurt you. It's going to show you who hurt you. It's going to show you the things, the emotional baggage, the insecurities, the fears that you've been holding on to. And it may show this to you in a very jarring sort of way, in a very visceral sort of way, in a very in-your-face, direct and blunt sort of way. Don't be mad at the messenger. Take the message and learn from it, right? For instance, perhaps you're trying to get into a relationship or maybe take your relationship to the next level. However, you've got abandonment issues, or maybe you have been betrayed in the past, so you've got trust issues. So again, the universe is handing you the keys to this brand new car, your dream car, to set out on a new destination. But when the universe opens your suitcase, you've got abandonment, you've got betrayal, you've got loss, you've got fuckboy shit, you've got all this other stuff in there, right? The universe is like, I need you to address this and get this out of here so we can get going on this trip, right? This is where you figure out what it is that you want and pretty much what's standing in your way. right? So to use my example, you want a new relationship, you've got abandonment issues, all that stuff. Maybe this is the time to start setting up boundaries. Maybe this is the time to stop accepting less than what you want. Maybe this is the time to say no to what is not in alignment with what you want. Hopefully my analogy makes sense, right? But this is the time where you've got to go within a little bit, and you've got to dance with your demons if you haven't already. Understand them. Understand why you feel the way that you do about certain things. What are you insecure about? What are you fearful of, right? So you want to definitely take those things into consideration and examine those things at this solar eclipse. As a matter of fact, the universe is going to make you address these things, whether you want to or not. And it's not going to feel good, especially if you're new to this kind of work and you've never done it before, but it is necessary, all right? The other thing I'll say about the astrology is you want to take a look at where Aries is in your natal chart. This will let you know what topics or what area of life is being affected by this eclipse. So let's say you are a Libra rising, which means that Aries is your 7th house of relationships. So your commitments, your obligations, anything to which you are contractually bound is going to be the subject matter. This is the area of life that this eclipse is going to hit. Let's say that Aries is your 4th house, right? So that would make you a Aries. I can't say it off the top of my head, but if you've got Aries as your 4th house in your natal chart, then home, family, property, real estate issues, your lineage, these are the areas of life that are going to be highlighted at this eclipse. So take a look at your natal chart and see where Aries is, because this is where you can experience something new in a completely new way. Okay. And the last thing I'll say about the astrology is that we are ushering the newness part of this solar eclipse is also being colored by the fact that Pluto has recently gone into Aquarius. So we're in a whole new age, a new generation, a new era, right? So this is about doing new things, perhaps in a futuristic kind of way, right? So we're leaving behind old methods. We're leaving behind old ideologies, old beliefs, old fears, old insecurities, and we're going someplace completely new. And the astrology does nothing but support that concept. So this may require you to be bold, because that's exactly how Aries likes it, to be a little risky. Maybe you tried this in the past. Maybe whatever you want to manifest is something that you've wanted in the past and it didn't work out. Well, now's the time to do it completely differently. You might even have a whole new mindset at this point in time, because especially if you've been undergoing transformation, if you've been doing the work, right? Your mindset is probably different anyway. So even if you tried something in the past, this new attempt is going to be done from a completely different mental space and perhaps even a different spiritual space as well. So embrace the new and do the work. Examine your insecurities, examine your fears, and see just how different this new phase is going to be for you. All right. So now that we've talked about the numerology and the astrology, let's talk about manifestation, because this is going to be a really important concept during this solar eclipse. All right, so you know that the new moon is all about setting new intentions and planting new seeds. It's really the start of the manifestation process. And so because this is all going down in the sign of Aries, this is the time when you are starting new things. You are pioneering new things into your life. So this is a great time to go after something that not only you really want, that perhaps you've never had before, okay? Now, I temper that by saying that number one, this is an eclipse, and this is the universe moving things around in our lives. So this isn't necessarily the time to take bold action at this time, because the universe is kind of doing it for you. So you kind of just have to sit back, see where the chips fall, and then move from there. So this isn't necessarily the time to be doing the most. Sit back, observe, and look at what the universe is trying to tell you. Or better yet, look at what the universe is trying to show you in terms of what newness you can have in your life. All right, that's one. The second way that I would temper the manifestation energy of this eclipse is the fact that we are experiencing Mercury retrograde right now. Mercury retrograde is like, I know that you want to do the most, but pump your brakes. It's really time for you to think and look before you leap. Aries energy is very impulsive. It's kind of knee jerk. I feel it. I want it. I'm doing it. I'm going after it. Like no pause in between there, right? But Mercury retrograde is like, whoa, hold up. Let's think about this for a second. Did we do this in the past? And if we did it work out? How did I feel in the past? What result did I get? Was I scared to do this in the past? Like Mercury retrograde in Aries is going to be asking you mad questions. And you got to answer them, right? You got to answer them and get clear on them before you take action. So while typically the new moon, exactly when the new moon occurs, is when you're going to want to do the most, because this is an eclipse and because it's Mercury retrograde, you're going to want to take several seats and you're going to want to wait things out a bit. And while you're waiting, don't just sit there idly, not paying attention to anything. Think. Get a plan together. Figure out what it is that you really want. Figure out who hurt you. Figure out who you are so that when the time is right to take action and to move forward, you're doing so from a place of strength. That's the whole point of Aries energy. Even though it can be impulsive and a bit reckless, it's about doing something forcefully. It's about doing something willfully and with intent, not just stumbling your way forward, right? So Mercury retrograde is going to give you the opportunity to think things through. And the eclipse is going to show you what you don't need and what newness you can have in your life. So while this is a time for manifestation, not necessarily right now, all right? But the time soon will come for you to take action. And when it does, make sure that you are ready, all right? So now let's get into some messages from Spirit for this eclipse. All right, so when I tell you the way that Spirit came through with these messages, it was so short, sweet, blunt, and to the point. It's almost like I got knocked upside the head with these messages. So they aren't many and they're actually kind of short, but in line and in alignment with the spirit and the energy of Aries. Okay, so first up, deeply rooted emotions surrounding love of all kinds will need to be addressed. All right. And this is beliefs about love and beliefs about yourself. Okay. This goes back to Chiron being conjunct this new moon solar eclipse. It's time to really focus on what perhaps is holding you back from having love. Is it fear? Is it insecurity? Is it emotional baggage you've been holding on to? This solar eclipse is going to bring your feet to the fire and have you examine these so that you can finally let go of them so that you can have the love that you want. And of course, it's love of all kinds. Next, stop pretending. And that's exactly how Spirit said to me. Spirit was like, yo, stop pretending. Who are you really? And what do you truly want? Like, take the mask off. Now is not the time to be complacent or to try to people please. Like, please take the mask off and show the world who you really are. Don't be afraid. You will have fans, followers, lovers, exactly as you are. So don't be afraid about that. And stop trying to play to other people's things. Stop telling people what they want to hear. Just stop. Like, be you and speak freely. Point blank, period. Next, how you are perceived at work, your public image, as in your reputation, how you are perceived at home, and who you align yourself with will be highlighted. Okay. And the point of this is to play up your strengths and be strategic. Now, Spirit is saying, do not be manipulative. But when it comes to these relationships, when it comes to putting your best foot forward, lead with your strengths. Like, that sounds obvious, but a lot of times we don't do it for a variety of reasons. It could be emotional trauma, people pleasing, whatever. Lead with your strengths and be strategic about how you are in these relationships. Now, this was something that came to me like about 5 minutes ago. Well, let me not say 5 minutes ago because I was filming this 5 minutes ago before I started filming this. About how, especially in relationships, especially if you want relationships, and this seems to be, maybe I'm just speaking my business because maybe that's what I'm wanting right now. But when it comes to relationships, it's not just about love, right? Things have to make sense. Right? Things just have to make sense. And I feel like when it comes to these relationships in your life, whether it's your relationship to your job, your career, your business, your public reputation, your standing, your family, your friends, who you align yourself with, like, be strategic about these things. It's not just about, oh, I enjoy this person's company or whatever. Like, what are you getting out of this? And what are you giving? These are not self-serving things to think about. They're not selfish. They're necessary. So what are you giving? What are you getting? How is this benefiting everybody? Are we just trauma bonding and bullshitting all the time? Are we helping uplift each other? Are we helping each other get to the next destination? Or are we merely just dead weight that we don't know how to let go of? This is what Spirit wants to show you and teach you with this eclipse. One of the things. Next, change and transformation. That's it. Self-explanatory. Next, be patient with yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day. It is the alchemy of your inner and outer worlds. Remember I said new moons, the sun and the moon are conjunct. Your outer expressive world and your inner subconscious world there's a synergy with those two. There's an alchemy. There's an alchemical dance that's going on at this new moon solar eclipse. And so you have to be patient with yourself because you're going to feel a little wonky. Especially if we're in a phase where we are starting something new. We're doing things we've never done before. We're going places and trying to achieve things we've never had before or been before. It's an alchemical dance. It's like you have two liquids and they are converging and they haven't settled yet. So they're still doing this in the glass or in this container. This is the energy of the eclipse, this alchemical dance between your inner world and your outer world. Let it happen and be patient with yourself. Next, childhood family trauma is going to come up point blank, period. All right. Deal with it. And that's exactly how Spirit said it to me. Like, it's coming up. Deal with it. What is your capacity to receive? And how was that influenced in your childhood? Because we're at a stage now where, we're becoming more conscious. We're becoming more aware. And in that awareness is the ability to receive more. Whether it's information, whether it's love, even whether it's attention, right? But how do you feel about receiving? Are you someone who's open to it? Are you someone who's got their hand closed and you're like, I don't know how to deal with this? Sort of like when you get a compliment, how do you receive it? Are you like, thank you? Or are you like, oh, no, like playing yourself down? Like, how receptive are you? What is your capacity to receive? And you will likely be able to answer that question by examining your childhood. Point blank, period. That was a weird cutoff. I think I expected to say more and I just didn't have the words. And then finally, what are you doing? And again, that is exactly how Spirit conveyed it to me. What are you doing? Stop sitting on the fence and pull the trigger already. Okay? Libra energy is very balanced. It can be very indecisive. We're at the exact opposite now, which is Aries. And Aries is like shit or get off the pot. Real talk, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, make a decision, pull the trigger already and go. This has to do with an alliance or a relationship and specifically commitment. So for some, this is romance. For others, it's like business. Like, I don't know if I should work with this person. I don't know if I should align with this person. I don't know if I should collaborate with this person. Listen, do or don't, but figure it out. Okay? The universe doesn't have time. I'm not going to say the universe doesn't have time. The universe is not impatient with you, but the universe is like, come on, let's go. Let's go. What you doing? Figure it out. Let's go. Get rid of what you don't need. Let's go. Of course, it's going to be tempered by some of the astrology, but we're in go time. It is forward movement to places we've never been, to have things we've never had. So again, buckle up, baby. It's going to be such a hell of a ride. All right. All right, my loves. So that concludes this video on the solar eclipse in Aries. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you could use going into this eclipse. All right. For information on our products and services, all of that is either tagged to the video or linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you nothing but the best for this eclipse. And I really mean that. All jokes aside, this is the time to move forward. We don't have to be who we were. We don't have to have what we had. We can be completely different. We're entering a new era and there is a new you that is dying to be born right now. And this eclipse is giving you ample opportunity. All right, my loves, thank you for tuning in and I will see you in my next video. Take care.